Hi, this is Elizabeth Blandon from the Blandon Law Team. I'm here on Giving Tuesday, giving you some free legal advice for an immigration case. This video is being recorded. Feel free to share it with any family or friends who you think can benefit from our information today on removal of conditions. It's a very important video because there's a lot of people who think that getting a green card based on marriage is relatively simple. In fact, I was recently watching a show, Jane the Virgin, and one of the characters is married to another person to get the green card through marriage. And of course, I'm watching it as an immigration attorney and slightly laughing because they make it look a little bit easier than it is. And I think that's the impression many people have. They think, well, a US citizen or a resident will marry a foreign national and the foreign national will get a green card. What you may not know is that if you were married less than 2 years at the time of the interview, at the time you got your green card, you're going to have another process called removal of conditions. You're going to have to apply for this another process to make sure that the marriage is valid. And hello to our viewers, that process known as removal of conditions is filed on Form I-751. I like to say that this type of case is for people who, it's all fun and games until you get an RFE, a request for evidence. And that's the impression people have. It's all fun and games. There's a beautiful wedding, there's parties, there's photographs that are taken, there's an interview where you first get your green card. Before that, you get a work permit. So it's all fun and games getting a green card through marriage, right? It all seems very simple until you have to file for this removal of conditions. And even that, many people do on their own. So they'll file for a removal of conditions, and they usually file both people together. And it's all fun and games. It's all looking very easy because immigration has not stopped anything. You have your green card, everything's going well, you get your notice to go get your fingerprints taken, everything looks fine until you get a document from immigration and it's called a request for evidence. And now suddenly it's not so much fun and games because they ask for everything. We've seen requests for evidence in cases that are over 10 pages long, and they will ask for birth certificates of children that you have in common. They will ask for proof that you have joint financial situation, for example, that you both have a home together or that you are the cross beneficiaries in life insurance, And the issue with that is that not everyone has it. So what happens? What happens is that people wonder what should they do when they get a request for evidence? Well, let me tell you when it becomes hard. It becomes hard when things get sus, right? And that's the slang for suspicious. Who is sus? I will tell you some people who will have a hard time getting a removal of conditions approved, or it might take years and years and years to get it approved. First of all, people who do not have children in common, I will tell you point blank, although it's not right, and I don't think that every couple decides to have children, it is true that if you do not have children in common, your case for removal of conditions will be more difficult, and you should anticipate that. Likewise, if you do not have financial commingling of assets, if you do not own property together, it will be more difficult to get your case approved. Okay, why? Because immigration has this mindset, this old-time mindset as to what a marriage is. And in the mind of immigration, a marriage is a very long-term relationship. In other words, you get married in 2009 and you're planning that you're going to be together in 2069. And so they're saying, well, if that's the plan, if that's what you're thinking when you get married to a foreign national, what are you doing right now for those plans? And the truth is that not everyone thinks that way. Many people think, what's going on right now in my life? Where can I get a good job? What can I do? How can I pay for my next bills? How can we travel together as a couple? You would think that proof of travel together is enough proof, but it's not, because what immigration will say is, okay, that's the same as a boyfriend and a girlfriend, or two girlfriends or two boyfriends. They just travel together. That doesn't mean you have long-term plans. So if you do not have children, if you do not have property together, what can you do? I always say, just stress to immigration as much as possible that you do have long-term plans. So if you do not have plans of starting a family, well, what is the care that you have among the children that do exist? For example, is the foreign stepmother, again, as an example, someone who picks up the US citizen father's children from school. There will be documents that show that. Is she someone who takes those children to doctor's appointments? There might be documents about that. Do they have correspondence to the same address? There should be plenty, of course, of documents about that. You should get everything from coupons to all kinds of offers to the same address. Also, joint bills. So if you're living together, as people who are married know, the longer you live together, the more your money just kind of mixes together, maybe without planning it and maybe with planning it. But again, immigration is going to think the situation is sus if both of you have separate bank accounts with more money than a joint bank account. You're not required to have only one account, but just understand that your case is going to be much more difficult to win in a removal of conditions if you have more money separately than together. So what can you do? Again, I advise that you speak to a life insurance agent, and at Blandon Law, for our clients, we know who we recommend in our network of professionals, where we recommend you have life insurance where you're both the cross beneficiary. Anything happens to one, the other person gets the funds. Likewise, there may be reasons why you don't want to file a joint tax return, and we can recommend a tax preparer to you. But most of the time, a couple will want to file a joint tax return if they're married. Why? Because they're getting used to doing it. So you're asking, why do we have to go through this process of removal of conditions? And it all started with the high amount of fraud. Unfortunately, some people thought that it would be easy to get a green card through marriage, and immigration, rather than spending time fighting the initial green card, what they do is they'll give you the first green card, again, all fun and games, but then when it comes time to do the removal of conditions, a removal of conditions case can take 3, 4, 5 years. And when you go to that immigration interview at the end, they're going to want proof of those 5 years of marriage, 5 years of proof of parties you've been to. You know, they want to see photographs of, like I said, not only events, family events that you go to, but anything that indicates that you do plan to have a long-range marriage. And generally, long-range marriages, again, involve property, commingling of assets, or starting a family, or mixing and blending the family that you do have. So that's some information that I can give you in terms of free legal advice for Giving Tuesday, is what you might want to include. Every case is different, so this is not legal advice. If you want legal advice, if your question starts or has the word I or my, I did this and I want to know what I should do, or in my application, I want to know this, that, or the other, just know that you might want to actually schedule a consultation with our consultation specialist. When we are hired, the team of attorneys that we have at Blandon Law work with you. We're not going to give you legal advice or tell you how to fill out a form at the consultation. That's not what the consultation is for. The attorneys help you after you hire us. However, at the consultation, we'll tell you what your options are. And if your case, again, is looking a little sus, this is perhaps the third marriage, and there are no children with this third spouse who's a U.S. citizen, but you do have a child with the other two, there's certain situations that will require that when you get a little bit of professional help with your removal of conditions, especially if you get an RFE, if you get a request for evidence, that's immigration's sign to you that they're wondering what's going on in your case, and you should get professional help on that kind of case. So you can schedule a consultation by going to our website. There's an English side and a Spanish side, and you can schedule consultation if you want to hire an attorney that way. But otherwise, it's been a pleasure helping you. One final note for people who are viewing us all over the world and wonder whether we do consultations wherever you are in the world, know that we do. We gladly help clients who are all over the world so long as one of two conditions is met. Either you have a visitor visa already, or you have a family member who's in the U.S. And by a family member, we're talking a spouse, an adult child, or parents. So we will help. If you've never been given a visitor visa to the U.S., or you do not have family members in the U.S., and you live outside of the United States, we do not help those people. There's reasons why, but we just want you to know that we will not be doing consultations for those kinds of clients. Of course, if you are inside the United States, we help clients throughout the United States. I've had the pleasure of visiting all 50 states, including Alaska and Hawaii and North Dakota. So to all of our viewers out there, it's a pleasure, looking always to help you in making your immigration goals a reality.